Hi everyone and welcome to Business Spotlight today with me, Yvonne Webb. I am delighted to be joined by Paul Nicholas, who's the Associate Director with Shirley Parsons Project Services and also has an interesting sideline and another couple of things which we'll explore in a minute. Welcome, Paul.
Hi Yvonne, nice to be on. Nice to meet you.
So thanks for joining us today. So you'll be really good to unpack a bit about what you do in your business. So maybe just start with the here and now and what it is you do, and then we'll get a bit of the backstory because there's some interesting stuff there as well. So if you can share with us what you do in a day-to-day.
Yeah, sure, no problem at all. So day to day, so I work as a safety, health, environment professional. I work for Shirley Parsons, as you've said, as Associate Director, and I currently work in a large business called Astra Zeneca, who some of you may be aware of. And funny enough, a lot of people, if you probably asked them that like 4 years ago, maybe before the pandemic, probably wouldn't have known what you were talking about. But now it's a bit like the Coca-Cola brand. You know, everyone knows who AstraZeneca are, which is a nice place to be in. It's a great company to work for. So my role within AstraZeneca, I work through Shirley Parsons as a self-employed consultant, and I am sort of parachuted into AstraZeneca to effectively manage all their safety, health, environment for the construction side of their business. So when they have new drugs that come online, they produce new facilities for that drug production, and my role is the kind of the governance or the assurance piece in looking at all of the health and safety and environmental compliance elements to it. So that kind of takes me to places like Macclesfield, where I am today. So I'm in sunny Mac, nice. Which is sort of south of Manchester. We've got a large manufacturing plant here, and also just more recently across to Dublin, where they're building a new API project, which is a facility which looks at dangerous diseases. So we're over there as well. So I'm kind of front end sort of project construction safety and managing all that goes with it. So how AstraZeneca usually set up, they don't always have projects where they usually subcontract the work out to others to do for them. We used to do a lot of self-delivery, but nowadays they actually take on a client role and they subcontract those packages of work out to specialist contractors who can go and do the work for them. So that's how we do it. So yeah.
It sounds like a very important thing you do in terms of, you know, the work they do is important for all of us, but actually you're there kind of keeping them right from a health and safety perspective.
It's massive, and you make a really good point there, because what you kind of get when you come into AstraZeneca and you work for a business like this is it's drug to patient effectively. So although you're at the building end of it, you know, if we have any accidents or incidents on site, that slows down the whole construction process, which in turn slows down the production of those life-saving drugs to our patients. So it becomes quite a, there's quite a chain of events there, so to make sure that we do things right and we do it safely. So it's really important that happens. And some of these treatments that people are getting, they are life-saving. The quicker they get these drugs, the weller they'll be, and the higher chance of survival they'll have. So it's a really important role, and it's good to be part of a business which you feel like you're making a difference, which is nice.
Yeah. And do you feel part of the team even though you're not?
Yeah, they're really good actually. Yeah, so because obviously I'm a consultant through Shirley's, you still feel part of the team very much so. You've got an email address that says AZ. You still feel part of it. Obviously, being a consultant, you've got to be careful in relation to the tax purposes and what you take on and what you don't, and town halls, etc. And you don't go for certain things and meals, because there is obviously a balance between being a full-time employee and being a consultant. There is, so you just have to be kind of mindful of that. But generally, the cultural aspect of it, very inclusive, which is great. Yeah.
So tell us a bit about what's led you to get to this point, because it's a big thing going self-employed at any point in time, isn't it?
Yeah.
And taking that on. What's the journey that's led you to this, to decide to go self-employed?
Yeah, good question. So I've been working in this field for probably just under 20 years now, around 18, 19 years post graduation. So I kind of fell into safety through default. So I didn't plan to be a safety professional when I was, at university. just happened, I guess. So I studied at Strathclyde University. I wanted to actually do psychology. I wanted to be a psychologist. So
Right.
I went to study psychology. And then I found in like second year, it was all just numbers and stats, and it was pretty boring.
Yeah.
So that's not really for me. And then I kind of moved into, and I'd already been doing sociology at the time and human resource management. So I took those 2 electives forward and finished off a degree in that.
Right.
So that was fine. And I came out thinking, well, I'll go into HR and I'll be an HR guy and I'll go down that road. But it was a kind of chicken and egg. When you were going for interviews, it was like, well, have you got HR experience? And like, no, I'm just at uni, so you couldn't get those roles.
Yeah.
And then there was a graduate trainee position for a safety lead, which was local to me at the time, child construction. So I took that on, and then the rest is kind of history. I kind of went through that whole full-time employee role until about 2016. I kind of peaked at that point, but I was running from a safety perspective, it was £100 million tunnelling job in Glasgow. And it was quite stressful. There was a lot of work involved, a lot of effort, a lot of weekend working, a lot of long hours, for a salary that, it was okay, but it wasn't, exceptional. And I thought, and I was, you're listening to other people in the market and people that were self-employed, consultants, and, you were hearing some of this sort of figures being, and I thought, oh, this is, and if I do a weekend, I'll be charging for that, and if I help someone with it. And so it kind of made me think about it, and I thought, do you know what, I want to try that and see what it's like. And I set up my own business back in May 2016, so been going for, pretty much, 7 years now. And then there was always a kind of fear of failure that, what happens if I don't get the contracts, and what happens if the work isn't there? And so there was always that sort of probably a bit that held me back. I think before you become self-employed or a consultant in any shape or form, or any self-employed business, you've kind of got to build up a contact base as well, and you've also got to sort of learn the ropes. You can't just go in as a consultant at 21. You need to have had the experience, I think, to do that. So when I turned, I was 30, 31 at the time when I went self-employed, and I think that was a nice time to do it. I had sort of 10 years, 11 years behind me by that point, post-grad experience, and it was a nice time to sort of transition into the world of self-employment. And the fears that I had about not having contracts and not winning work, sort of slowly dissipated after you get the first one, the next one rolls on, and then your reputation really sort of carries on from there. And I've never been a great one for websites or promoting what I do, because it's really word of mouth after you've got a few good contracts. I believe that's your best selling point than having a website or anything like that. So that's just a bit about me and how I started, and I've been doing it ever since. So
So it's quite a leap of faith though. So you're 30, 31. Do you have a family at that point in time?
I do, yes, At that point in time, I've got a wife, and I've got I'm married as well. So I've got commitments.
You got commitments. And so was there anything that made you think, oh, this is a bit risky, or did you just have tunnel vision?
Yeah, there was a bit of both. It was, I think, what I had at the time was a bit of security. So I'd also do a bit of property development. We could probably come into that a bit later. But so do a bit of property development. My wife does that, and we'd just done up a property. We'd made a kind of tidy profit on it, and there was a bit of cash, liquid cash there in the bank, which gave me that confidence to say, do you know what, if this fails, then we've got that there. That's going to cover us for X amount of months. So you had that bit of buffer zone. So I think if I was speaking to anyone about going into to be, I would always say have that buffer, because it doesn't always work for everyone. Some people don't take to it. Sometimes you don't get the contract. Sometimes things don't quite work out. But I think if you've got that buffer financially, it really cements it in your mind that you can then go and do it, because you've got that safety net to then fall back on, which I was quite fortunate to have. So that for me was the sort of, that allowed me to take that step, if you like.
Yeah. And so what would you say are the biggest challenges you've had in the last 6-7 years you've been trading, apart from the obvious one?
Apart from to be fair, COVID was actually nice to me in a way. I actually worked from home through most of it from one of the companies I worked for. It was Vodafone at the time. They were really good, but actually that was kind of semi-detrimental in the end as well, because I'm very much an outgoing people person kind of guy, and just sitting in the house for 8 hours a day on a laptop just isn't me,
Yeah.
and the line of work I do, if I wanted to do that kind of job, I'd probably work in an office more often than not. And I like being out, I like being about sites, I like being out in the fresh air. So for me that was quite restricting, but financially it was fine because I was able to, I was paid through it. And I know some people struggled with that, but I think the other struggle is looking at it holistically, generally over the kind of piece, running the consultancy business. I think, there's been times when I've, I brought in people who were maybe a bit too close and it didn't quite work. I think that's something to be aware of. And I'm just the business now, so I don't have anyone else working for me. But I'd kind of diversified a few years ago and brought a few people in and, had them doing other bits of work. And I suppose I'm a bit of a perfectionist sometimes. And if it's not quite where you feel it needs to be, and you've got a client that knows you for that, and then the work's not quite there, and especially in my line of work, there's a lot of report writing. There's how you present things, documents, reports, and if it's not to the standard that you like it to go out and it goes out, it kind of has a bit of an effect on your brand and your name. So for me, that was a bit of a struggle. So I took that bit back in, rightly or wrongly. And I think also it's just, I think some of the struggles are, we touched on it just before we went live about, working away from home. It's difficult, you got to go where the work is. Sometimes you're a consultant or you're self-employed. It's not just going to be a job you'll have in Glasgow or London or whatever. You may have to go out with your comfort zone geographically. And that can be hard. It can be hard physically, mentally, emotionally, if you've got, a wife and kids. Great for the first few weeks, you think, oh, this is heaven. Then after that, it becomes, so there's all those kind of aspects to look at, I think, when you do that. I think contracts, winning work and stuff, I think if you're good at what you do, you'll usually pick up the work. I wouldn't worry about that. If someone's competent, I wouldn't worry about going down that road, because if the work is always usually there. The
working away from home thing, I think you touched on. I did the same for a few years when I worked for Cadbury, and it is tough. But what I didn't manage to do was have quite as good a kind of social life as you do. You've got quite interesting hobbies on the side, haven't you?
Yeah. I've done a few things. Yeah. So, so for me, I mean, I don't know if I should really say this or not, but is safety my passion? Probably not. Yeah. So I'm being really honest there, right?
Yeah.
If I was to ask a lot of people, doctors, lawyers, accountants, whoever, and we came on, would it all be their passion? Maybe when they first went into it, maybe they would say yes. I don't think. I would say 80 to 90% of them would probably say no after doing it for so many years. And I think that might be true across a lot of different industries and professions. Yeah, I think people get, and when I first started in safety, I was really engaged with it, and it was, and I'm still, I'm good at it. I know what I can do, and I do it well. But I think your passion is something that it makes you feel alive when you do it. And for me, sports was always a kind of passion. So I boxed amateur, so I had quite a few years as an amateur boxer, 20 odd fights, and I wanted to go professional, but it didn't quite work. My kind of family were sort of being formed at the time, and wife, and again, I wasn't going to be a Floyd Mayweather, so it was never going to be where I would pay the bills from it. It'd probably be a few fights at 500 quid a piece, and a couple of smashed noses and a couple of black eyes, and then you get to like 33 and you're too old to do that. So the age thing kind of kicks in then, and you think, well, I just can't do that now. I'm just going to stick to the bike or the peloton or whatever you do. So I guess that. So I did a bit of that, and that was a bit of fun. And I still love boxing. It is my passion, but I like to watch it. So enjoyed that. And then I mean, other hobbies. I've always been interested in acting. So I'd done a couple of things, and I worked away back in 2009. I'd started doing I did a play, Pinocchio. I was one of the lead roles as an adaptation. And then that, again, wife, kids comes along, jobs, consultancy, you're building up things. You don't get that time. But recently I've been really quite engaged with that again. So I've had a couple of roles. So I was on Crime Series 2 as a uniformed police officer, which was really cool. It was cool because you get to wear all the uniform and all the kit, and you actually don't realise how heavy all that stuff is. And when I was walking through the streets of Maryhill with it on, you have to have real police officers there with you because you're impersonating a police officer effectively.
All right.
And some of the looks you got was quite because people, start scowling at you and, looking at you because they think you're just a cop. So that was when we were going to
For those that don't know Mary Hill, describe Mary Hill just so people get a
Well,
picture.
it's maybe not one of the most salubrious areas in Glasgow. It's a working class area, and you've got some deprivation there. You do have a bit of that. So our set, there was a murder, there was a body found, and we were sort of guarding it, rolling the police tape about 20 times to get the right cut on it, which we did. But then we had to go into the toilet, was a way up a wee bit and round the corner. So you had to sort of, me and my partner, who was just the other actor, sort of walked up, and there was a couple of guys, and just really nasty looks you were getting, just because you had a uniform on, you were a cop. Little did they know I wasn't a cop. But that was pretty cool. And then we did another take out in Motherwell, and Dougray Scott was actually on set that time.
Wow.
So he was the lead detective, and we were his two kind of police officers, and we kind of had to work with him. So we met him really early in the morning, and he was just a really polished guy. He's quite a small guy, but when you're sort of there beside a Hollywood star, and he's been in Mission Impossible, he's Taken 3, and just how he spoke, how he delivered his lines, and you just thought, wow. And talking about your passion, we did a 12-hour day, I think. And the day rate wasn't anything compared to kind of what I get now for doing safety, but I loved every minute of it. And you just thought, I could do that every day. It's just really, really cool. And it's not life or death stuff you're dealing in. You're kind of you're having fun. The actors, they're saying some lines. If they don't get the line right, they'll do another take. If someone so it's not like you're dealing in financial forecast and something's wrong, or safety and someone falls, there's a big claim. It's quite a nice world to be in. So I did a bit of that, and then I auditioned for a play I was working away. It was called Shakespeare in Love. You might have seen the film. It was a stage adaptation to that, and I got the lead role as Hugh Fenneman, who's the nasty guy. He's like the loan shark in it. So it was good, and that sold out for a full week down at Mads Theatre, and my family and friends came down, and we got some good press coverage and all that. It was pretty cool, so that was good.
That's amazing. So we're going to be doing more acting in the future, do you think?
I'd love to, I did a short film there in Manchester just recently as well. That was probably about 2 weeks ago. It was called A Puncher's Chance, which was by chance, very fortunate. I got the role of a boxing coach. I didn't know that at the time, but I'd applied for it, and I was playing this coach. So that was quite good to do a bit of film work as well, so a bit different from the stage stuff. But the stage stuff was good because a lot of the actors in that performance were actually professional actors. So like when I was seeing them, how they were, doing the lines, coming across on stage, it was great to just absorb all of that and learn from it. So I'd love to get a few more gigs if I could. So if there's any budding or aspiring casting directors out there, keep me in mind.
So casting directors or people who are interested in health and safety should get in touch with a Gab.
Exactly. Yes, 100%. Yeah.
All right. Starting off again then, if you're doing it all over, what changes would you make just as we come to a close?
I would try and follow your dreams and monetize your dreams and monetize your passion. That's what I would try and do. I think if you can do that, you've knocked it off, and you get people that do it, and some people fall into it by chance. They could be a footballer, they're good with football skills, and then they're able to monetize it and become a professional, or acting or whatever it may be. But I think, how I was brought up, I was the first ever person in my family to go to uni. That was a big thing, it was a big deal. So, mum and dad wanted me to go down that road, and I did it, and I'm grateful for that in a sense, because it's provided me a nice lifestyle and whatever. But I think if I was to do it all again, I would try and follow something that was my passion, and go down that road, because I think you can have loads of fun, and you can also you can actually do quite well at it if you're good at it. So that's what I'd say to anyone: follow your passion and work hard at it.
Well, thank you for sharing your experiences. It's so interesting to speak to someone who's got such a diverse range of things going on between health and safety to acting. It's quite different. So look forward to seeing you on a stage sometime soon, Paul.
Thanks. Thanks, Yvonne. It was really nice talking to you. It was good. Thank you.
Thanks for your time today. Take care.
Take care. See ya.